Now, from the Opus Radio News Center, this is an Opus Radio News Update.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Al Quartemont with your web news update. Well, how safe is the Alexandria Mall? Some are asking that question following an incident over the weekend where apparently a fight broke out in a store and saw a Baton Rouge man pull out a gun. Alexandria police got a call around 6 p.m. Saturday of a scuffle inside the Buckles store. An off-duty officer responded to the scene, proceeding to arrest 33-year-old Thaddeus Michie, confiscating his weapon and charging him with aggravated assault. Mall officials at APD responded to the incident, saying that the mall is a safe place. Yesterday, we told you the story of Pineville's Danny Udy. He was working at the Fukushima No. 1 nuclear plant at the time of Friday's massive earthquake. News this morning is that Mr. Udy is now on his way back to the United States. Meanwhile, if you're feeling led to help out victims of the earthquake, a good way to do that is through the Central Louisiana Red Cross. The local chapter is accepting donations which will go toward the relief effort there. You can visit their website. It is cenlawredcross.org. About 200 people turning out for former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee's appearance at the Alexandria Books A Million yesterday. Huckabee, in town to sign copies of his new book, says he is seriously contemplating another run at the presidency in 2012. Time now for your state news. Memphis police capturing 2 fugitives who had escaped from Louisiana, but they're also suspected of the fatal carjacking of an Ohio man. The capture coming Monday after the 2 men crashed a vehicle and tried to run away. Police say 33-year-old Darian Drake Pierce and 36-year-old Ricky Wedgeworth were caught about 90 miles from where they were last reported seen. That was at a park near Jackson. Police say they stole a government pickup after tying up 2 workers at the park. Authorities have been looking for the men since they escaped from a Baton Rouge police barracks back on March 4th. They are suspects in the slaying of David Michael Cupps of Sunbury, Ohio. Police believe Cupps was carjacked in Vicksburg, Mississippi. His body was later found in Bessemer, Alabama. Governor Jindal backing a proposal to merge the Southern University of New Orleans campus with the University of New Orleans, choosing one of 2 options that were offered by a consultant studying education issues in the city. The Colorado-based National Center for Higher Education Management Systems suggested 2 options to rework New Orleans higher education offerings. The option chosen by the governor would merge the 2 campuses into the University of Greater New Orleans. It would not be a complete consolidation of the campuses. Instead, the schools would maintain separate missions under the oversight of one president. Meanwhile, the governor's new budget could be costly to Louisiana college students. Tucked in the pages of the $24.9 billion spending plan would be provisions for spending more than $98 million that the governor hopes the state's colleges will get through tuition hikes on students. Separate legislation would be needed to pass the cost increases. The increases would come on top of increased costs for students already set to take effect this fall, and more increases for at least 4 additional years under legislation that was passed last year. The Jindal administration says another round of price hikes for students would ensure the colleges and universities have, in his words, the resources they need to improve outcomes for students. Critics call them a tax increase on students. Tragic story out of Lafayette Parish. That's where a sheriff's deputy says a 6-year-old elementary student has died after being caught in a school bus door and then dragged about 20 feet. Ladarian Miller attempted to board the bus Monday with other children at a neighborhood school bus stop when the door closed and caught a piece of his clothing. Apparently, the driver did not see the child and continued to drive down the dead-end road. The driver apparently finally did see the child on the side of the road after he looped back from that dead end. Miller was taken to a local hospital but died from his injuries. The accident remains under investigation. A Shreveport man is under arrest after using a neighbor's doggy door to get into the house and commit acts of burglary. 21-year-old Timothy Sepulvedo faces charges of burglary after he was allegedly caught on video getting into the neighbor's house through the pet door while she was at work. The homeowner had set up cameras after noticing several items out of place and others missing, including a camera and coins. The homeowner does have a small dog, but the door had been installed by previous owners who had a much bigger one. Sepulvedo is about 5'10" and 165 pounds. In Tuesday sports, Denver's hot shooting night from the outside, dooming the Hornets last night. They allowed Denver to hit 17 three-pointers in a 114-103 loss. Chris Paul did have 27 points and 10 assists for the Hornets. Meanwhile, Governor Jindal says Louisiana expects to pay the Hornets about $7 million in subsidies, which kick in whenever the team does not meet certain annual revenue benchmarks. Jindal says it's part of the effort to help secure the club's future in the Crescent City. Chance to see some baseball tonight. The LC Wildcats hosting LeTourneau in a non-conference game at 6 p.m. at Billy Allgood Field. Patrick Peterson could be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Peterson meeting with the new Carolina Panthers head coach Ron Rivera over the weekend. The Panthers own the top pick, could make the LSU cornerback the first ever taken as the first pick in the history of the draft. And the streak is over for the LSU women's basketball team. First time in 13 years they will not be in the NCAA tournament. The Lady Tigers finished 19-13 overall, 9-8 in the SEC. Coach Van Chancellor guarantees the women's program will never be in this situation again. He says he feels bad for his players and the LSU fan base. More news on our Truth 104.3 FM Facebook page. You can always send us your news. Send news at opusbroadcasting.com. I'm Al Quartemont.